What is up, possums? What is up, my ladies and gentlemen? Guys, we got some sweet matchups this weekend. We got the Lions and the 49ers, and then the Ravens and the Chiefs. I'm so excited for a good weekend of football. But today, we have the best Dynasty buy on every NFL team. Again, we are Offensive Points, and we are just smitten that you guys are here with us. I am with Josh and Billy. Go ahead and follow them and follow us at Offensive Points on X. Josh, Billy, what's up?
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. So I actually just recently got the kind of the color conspiracy of the Super Bowls. Somebody had to break it down to me like I was a 3-year-old of the Bengals, Rams, the Eagles, Chiefs, and potentially the 49ers, Ravens with the colors of the Super Bowl. The NFL script is becoming scriptier and scriptier each day. I knew the Chiefs were going to make it this far, even with looking terrible because they're making money and profiting off of Taylor Swift being there. I'm still like, there's still a bit of a conspiracy theorist in me that thinks they're going to want Swift at the Super Bowl, but then they're worried that Swifties they might have to kick out the Chiefs at the Super Bowl because they can't really have Swift there. Because what if they think she's going to perform at the halftime show? I don't know. I just need to put my tinfoil hat on. It's just the whole thing. But the script is looking scriptier and scriptier each day to me. I don't think you could script the Lions being in there though, unless you're just trying to throw off the scent. But
sure you can. They're the lovable underdog story.
That is true. The Eagles were kind of that in 2017-18 Super Bowl. So I guess that's possible. You know, we were the underdogs with Nick Foles. It was kind of a fun thing. But at this point, like, how do we feel about the NFL actually potentially being scripted? Like, I mean, there's a chance it's a private company. They can do that.
It's not scripted. It's impossible to script these things.
I don't know, man. There's a lot of calls that go on the Chiefs' favor, and then there's like, then they had their little slump to make it.
I mean, they could have slants, but you can't script the games. It's impossible. Like,
it would be impossible for them to cover up a script.
I'm pretty sure Arian Foster was releasing something along the lines of that.
Oh yeah, no, he went on it, but an active player would totally be on that shit, seeing what they put on social media. Something would happen. We'd have an AB moment, rip the jersey off, run out of the stadium.
Maybe that's why AB.
Well, that would have been in the script, Joe. Like, that's the thing. Like, if it is scripted, like every crazy thing that happens during the season, including injuries, would be scripted. It's impossible.
I don't think you can script that far, but they could script the winner. I mean, they could script and not to mention now that they're in bed with all the betting sites and everything, which would just make it even crazier if it was scripted because they're getting plenty of money. If a lot of people put money on the Chiefs to win or whatever, we got to cut you out. We need more money for us.
If it's truly scripted, then the Chiefs have to lose this weekend because the drama would get so much social media and attention from that. No more Taylor, Jason Kelce, no more Travis Kelce, no more Mahomes. Yeah, that would be
all right. And
money driver.
I really wanted to get the X-Files theme, but we would have got flagged anyway. Just imagine that played the entire time I was talking.
We've already spent too much time on it. All right, guys, we have 2 new head coaches in the NFL, so let's talk about them. I love that Josh doesn't know who the other one is. By the way, if you go on ESPN's top headline stories for the NFL, you won't even know who the other one is because they have silently hid him away. We'll get to him in a second, but first of all, right before we started recording, the Los Angeles Chargers have hired Jim Harbaugh as their next head coach. Guys, the last time we saw Jim Harbaugh, he was taking Colin Kaepernick to the Super Bowl the blackout game, as it was called. How do we feel about Jim Harbaugh being back? Do we feel like the Chargers are going to get back on track? How are we feeling about this?
That's a blast from
news for the defense.
Yeah. No, honestly, it's a blast from the past bringing up the Kaepernick to the Super Bowl. I didn't even realize that was the last time he was in the NFL. But I did see reports that he's going to bring a significant portion of the Michigan coaching staff with him. So that could be pretty interesting because, honestly, those guys did great. And we've seen in the past how coaching or, college coaches have translated to NFL. It's been good. It's been bad, i.e. Chip Kelly. So there has been some great college football coaches that come in and look really good. And then there's been some pretty bad college football coaches, but Jim's already done this before. So it's not his first rodeo. So be interesting to see how it translates. And that team is just super exciting on paper and really disappointing in real life. So I'm excited for Justin Herbert. Hopefully he's got his ear open and can, take what Jim has to say to heart and actually, show up for the team and build something. I feel so bad for Chargers fans if there are any left.
Hide your signs, hide your wife. Is Kellen Moore still employed by the Chargers, or did he leave with?
I'm sure
Staley?
he will not be much longer when they. I think he is still, but I mean, I'm sure Jim's coming in and cleaning house.
Yeah,
but we'll see. That might not happen. I don't know.
Yeah, no, it's great news for the defense, man. That's all I'm really excited about. Hopefully they get it all together and go from there.
Oh, did they not hire Brandon Staley, defensive coordinator of the Rams Super Bowl? That's odd, wasn't he? Yeah, and he was awful. So hopefully, Jim comes in and can actually turn things around. I have faith in him. He did a great job. I feel like a lot of people forget how good those Kaepernick-led 49ers teams were before all of the stuff that happened. We don't have to really go over all of that. But before that, when he was in Super Bowl mode, those were some ferociously good teams. And I think that Jim Harbaugh comes back in and installs that kind of mentality, that kind of system in place. I think this is a good hire for them. And I think the Chargers can become relevant once again, even with Mahomes in that division.
Absolutely. Yeah. Now, who is this other coach?
Okay, I love that. Joe, do you know who the other coach is that got hired?
Not that
today?
I can think of. I was trying to think about it, but
this is hilarious, and this is straight from Titans.com. Like, this is not me making this up. So Brian Callahan, the OC from the Cincinnati Bengals, was hired as the head coach of the Tennessee Titans. I am not being fooled by the internet. This is on TennesseeTitans.com. They hired him as a head coach. You will not find a word of this anywhere on ESPN, which I find very odd and strange. But, guys, what do we think about this? I mean, we can clearly see how good the Cincinnati Bengals have been on offense these last couple of years. They're bringing in a coach that knows how to facilitate a good offense. Will Levis is not Joe Burrow, but what do we think about this?
This is one of those teams that needs an offensive-minded head coach. Vrabel, obviously, I think he has an opportunity to continue coaching in this league and will get a shot at the very least as a defensive coordinator. But getting an offensive mind in this room is the best thing that they possibly can. I didn't realize this. Seriously, this is the weirdest story because I didn't even know this happened. But no, I mean, obviously we've seen the success the Bengals offense has done, especially when healthy. Hopefully he can turn the ship around. I mean, they have 3 quarterbacks in the room at the moment. I don't know if Tannehill's expiring, which hopefully that's just for the best. But I mean, there's got to be some raw talent between Levis and Malik Willis, or whether they go. I don't think they can go back to the well and draft another one at this point, at least not this year. So they're stuck with one of those guys, and I assume it's Levis. I mean, see what he's got. There was flashes, but that offense needed a little bit more than just a young raw quarterback. So
yeah, this just tells me Treylon Burks to the moon, baby. Go acquire him.
No, I can't.
Guys, here's the conspiracy hat I put on. What Bengals wide receiver is about to be on the market? T. Higgins. So, I mean, I'm thinking this is a storyline that we're going to have to watch out for this offseason, because if Brian Callahan likes T. Higgins, wants somebody familiar with his offense, he's free. I mean, you have to pay him, obviously, but you don't have to trade anything. You just take him off of they might tag him. I don't know if that's a possibility. But anyway,
Tyler Boyd is also a free agent, so
that's true.
Tyler Boyd going there.
Joe Mixon. I mean, I don't know. There's some opportunities for some former Bengals, or going to be former Bengals, to come join Mr. Callahan down in Tennessee. But yeah, it was kind of weird that nobody's talking about this coaching hire today, because now everybody's gonna be talking about Jim Harbaugh tomorrow, and still nobody's probably going to talk about the Titans. But
no, that's a great point.
Everyone's on Belichick watch.
One person I keep forgetting about, Josh Reynolds coming from the Rams with Jared Goff, and it shows. I mean, he loves him in the red zone. Maybe that could be T. Higgins, we know the talent, but it could even be a Tyler Boyd scenario, like how Adam Thielen has had a breakout year when nobody expected it with a terrible quarterback type thing, like bring a veteran over. Not that they are short on veterans, really. In reality, they'd be better off getting a T. Higgins, a young guy who they can have and develop. But they still got Hopkins next year at the moment, unless they want to cut him. They got Treylon Burks, raw rookie, young guy at the very least, and then add T. Higgins to that room. That'd be a great wide receiver room. And honestly, like, I'm not saying Will Levis to the moon, because that seems a bit excessive, but at least Will Levis in the conversation for a backup quarterback in fantasy. I mean,
for sure. Okay. Well, what we are doing today is talking about one dynasty trade asset from each team. Now, this is a confusing concept. I understand it is not necessarily the best player on each team. It is not the MVP of each team. It is a player in dynasty that you can target from every NFL team that is possible. We're going to each throw out a person, or we might all agree with a person. And then we will come to a consensus of who the best dynasty trade target is on each team. Guys, do we understand the concept?
I needed a couple texts to understand this, but yeah, I think we got it.
Okay, fair enough. All right, well, we're going to go in alphabetical order. I'll start us off first with the Arizona Cardinals. Joe, what player on the Arizona Cardinals would you be looking to acquire right now?
I would be looking to acquire, if I was a contender, James Conner. Weeks 13 through 18, he averaged 24 points a game and was a running back 2 during that time. With his advanced age of 28, I'm sure someone's trying to unload him. So, like I said, if I'm a contender, I would absolutely bite on James Conner.
Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree with this. I would actually probably go with a my bad, I'm trying to get things up, and that is not the correct name. The rookie wide receiver they drafted last year, not Michael
Wilson.
Michael Wilson. I was going to say, I wrote down Michael Thomas. It didn't seem right. So came on a little bit there in the middle of the season. It wasn't super flashy, but I feel like with the Marquise Brown probably being out, Kyler probably still being in, only going to need a big body receiver in the long run. I mean, there's been Dortch in the past. I don't think Dortch stays with the team, or if he does, I think Michael Wilson comes in a little bit stronger. That would be my guy. I mean, at the same time, Kyler Murray could easily be the guy because he actually did look really good after coming back. But yeah, I think it's Michael Wilson. Just after a year of football, looked good, not great. I think you should be able to get a good price for him. Is more so what I'm thinking. James Conner, I'm surprised Joe went with the running back. I'm so shocked.
No, I mean, James Conner is a good choice. My choice would also be Michael Wilson. I think you can get him for a very cheap price right now. And look, we know that this team's probably going to bring in Marvin Harrison Jr. I mean, we still have to see how the draft falls, but I think that is a very good possibility. But, you know, every Batman needs a Robin, and Michael Wilson could very easily be that Robin. And with Kyler Murray trying to come back and trying to prove what he can do, I think Michael Wilson will be my target as well. And I actually think I would wait until after the draft even happens if they bring in a wide receiver, because he may even end up being cheaper by the time it's all said and done. So that would be my choice as well. So I guess Michael Wilson is our choice.
I want to throw one more out on the Cardinals just because.
Okay. Love it.
Yeah, Michael Carter. He's got one more year left on his contract, and he actually looked really good on this team on there. So we know what Michael Carter can do. I feel like they should feature him more next year and see what happens.
Okay.
Go trade yourself for Michael. I just feel like Michael Wilson is overlooked. As a rookie, you got in rookie drafts last year, you probably got him in the third, probably fourth, maybe later rounds. I mean, it wasn't like a stellar pick. Nobody was excited about it. And you didn't really see much upside. You know, I mean, not upside, return on investment. You got 600 yards, 500 yards, whatever. This team's kind of unraveling. But yeah, I don't dislike the Michael Carter pick either, just because I've always liked him, and it was good to see him actually get featured, sadly, against the Eagles, but you know, featured nonetheless.
For sure. All right, the number 2 team on the list is the Atlanta Falcons. Josh, what player from the Atlanta Falcons would you be trading for right now?
Now, this is actually really funny because I'm gonna say the guy that nobody would have expected me to say. It's Kyle Pitts, and it's nothing. You know, I know Kyle Pitts is a good receiver, tight end, whatever you want to call him. But they're finally getting a quarterback. I hope to God. If they don't, I don't know what to tell them. But Kyle Pitts, 6'6", very athletic. If he is actually featured with 8 targets a game, if not 10. this could be the best tight end in football. This is what everyone thought he was going to be immediately, but with Kenny Pickett and, beyond and quarterback, it has not been the case. I would say Bijan, of course, because he's, one of the best running backs in football, but he is not tradable. Nobody's going to trade him to you unless you have the 1-1 and you give up something else. And I don't think it's worth it at that point. So not saying Marvin Harris. I just take Marvin Harrison, dude. Just don't look a gift horse in the mouth or whatever the hell the fucking saying is. But yeah, no, it's Kyle Pitts because we know the talent level is there. His rookie year, he looked great. The touchdowns were weird, but like if this scheme actually works, no more Arthur Smith, no more Desmond Ritter. Get him an actual quarterback on this team. I'm assuming that's what Atlanta goes and does. So this should be really exciting.
Okay. Joe, do you have a different opinion?
Well, yeah, I do. I'm going to go Drake London. I love Kyle Pitts. I think my argument for both of these guys is even if they don't get a quarterback and they stick with Desmond Ritter, any coach that comes in there is going to know to feature these guys. Drake London is an absolute dog. He was wide receiver 37 this year and really limped to the end of the season. So I would use that to my advantage. Drake London could be a top 10 talent with a new offensive scheme and QB. Even if he just gets a new offensive scheme, I think he could be real solid. So that is.
I just think you could.
No, I was going to say, Joe, I agree completely. I think Drake London would be my pick as well. I think wide receiver 37 is the lowest he's going to be for the rest of his career.
Yes.
I thought you said no, like don't trade for Drake London. Wide receiver 30 in back-to-back years. I mean, it just makes sense. But I just feel like everyone is so out on Kyle Pitts. I think everyone still has a little hope in the tank left for Drake London. If you could get Kyle Pitts before all the mocks start mocking quarterbacks and everything, starts hyping up for NFL draft season. Right now, if it's open and you could try to trade for Kyle Pitts or London, really, I mean, go do it.
Yeah, I just think people might be a little bit more high on Pitts, and London really pissed off a lot of people this year. Go on, Billy. I'm sorry.
Would you guys rather have the 5th pick in this draft or Kyle Pitts?
The 5th pick.
The 5th pick in the rookie draft?
Yeah, exactly. 1.05. Or Kyle Pitts.
1 QB, I'm assuming, right?
Which is kind of funny because it's where he pretty much went in rookie drafts, if not earlier.
Yeah, that's what I'm. Would you? I mean, I guess if you had the 105, would you give that up for Kyle Pitts? Would you basically get back what you probably paid for him?
At right now, no. But on draft day, if it didn't look like if it looked like the Malik Neighbors wasn't going to make it there, absolutely.
I think it's just crazy of like all of the shit talking and the craziness that's happened around Kyle Pitts. We can still come back to, we could probably trade him for exactly what we paid for him, which is just not at all what I would have thought.
I mean, this is all draft goes correctly. They get Marcus May or someone in the building that knows what they're going to be able to do. But if they don't draft a quarterback, his value immediately goes back to like a 2nd or 3rd round.
It's Drake May. I'm so glad you're back, Josh. Thank you so much.
What did I say?
You said Marcus May, the safety.
Marcus May.
It's been a while,
Josh
man. Is back.
Once we get into rookies, man, I'm going to be messing up some names.
I know. I was like, is he meaning Marcus Mariota or is I don't?
Nope, Marcus May. Draft the safety. Trade the safety for Kyle Pitts.
We will go on to the Baltimore Ravens. My choice for the Baltimore Ravens trade target is Isaiah Likely. By the end of these playoffs and maybe a Super Bowl run, I don't know if you're going to be able to get him for a very good price anymore. But I think with Mark Andrews coming back in this offense, his numbers may go down a little bit with whatever 2 games they have left if they are going to play them both. I don't know how you keep him off the field. He is an athletic freak. Lamar clearly likes him. I still think my hot take is that with the offense that they run with Likely, it's a lot more open for Lamar than it is with Mark Andrews. And I just think that going forward, Likely's got to be on the field more than Mark Andrews. They might be on the field the exact same amount of time, but I don't know. Likely would be my target right now, and he might end up being a top 10 tight end by the time redraft starts, which is crazy to talk about.
Still got 2 years left on the contract too, rookie contract. I assume will get bumped at some point, but essentially is the incumbent starter for Mark Andrews by the time Mark Andrews' career is over. I mean, not over, but ending. So I don't disagree with that. I actually had Zay Flowers. I know it's going to be pricey just seeing this, but this was my same logic here was the fact that Mark Andrews will not be there forever. And Zay Flowers is finally the receiver one that he wants. I understand he didn't finish as a wide receiver one, but he was a rookie. You got to give him a little bit of credit. Little guy who actually did what he was supposed to do and be Lamar's favorite basically out there. And he's getting consistent enough targets. I think it's only going to get better as their relationship develops. They're not quite Breakfast Club with Cooper Kupp and Matthew Stafford, which, by the way, I love how during the playoff game, they said that Puka was also joining the Breakfast Club. That was just super. That was super cool. Thanks for all the help. I don't know who was supposed to tell us this news, but nobody.
Yeah, no one did. I love the likely take, Billy. I had Zay Flowers as well. I think a lot of people kind of believe that he will be less relevant when Mark Andrews returns next year. I really wanted to put Keaton Mitchell on here, but I have no idea what they do at running back this offseason. So I just felt Zay was the best one of the bunch.
I really wanted to put whoever the running back was on this one, just because it could be J.K. Dobbins. Maybe he comes back from the injury. Maybe they go and sign a Saquon.
Well, I think he's a free agent. I was reading through the list of free agent running backs. I think J.K. Dobbins is a free agent. I don't know how they bring him back. I mean, unless he's taking a dirt cheap deal.
And this is an obnoxious free agent class of running backs. We've been over this before, but
there's a lot of
any team that needs a running back can have their pick, basically.
A lot of people kick the can down the road, and here we are.
It's kind of low-key a bad year for running backs in the draft, which has never happened, really. Last time we thought this, it ended up being Breece Hall, and he was awesome. But this year, I don't know. I just don't see it. But who knows? Maybe by the time we actually get to the draft, we can see a clear path ahead. We'll talk about that as draft process goes. All right. We're going to move on to a team good luck with. Buffalo Bills, Joe. Who do you got?
All right. I really had no idea here. I went with James Cook. We've seen what James Cook can do in a Joe Brady offense, but even then we had some duds in the playoffs. I just really like the way he looks. I like the way he's running, and they use him in the receiving game a lot. I don't think you can acquire Dalton Kincaid, and who the hell knows with Stephon Diggs. So James Cook is my bet.
Yeah, James Cook looked great, man. Running back 12 on the year, which is just wild to see, and obviously in PPR format. But still, though, I mean, that's phenomenal. I actually just said Josh Allen. The man is the man, the myth, the legend. He sucks at playoff football. Like, let's just be completely honest. He just can't get it done. But this man, QB1 on the year, going to continue to be in the conversation each year, even if they push him down. Like, even this year, I feel like he was pushed down the draft board. Jalen Hurts, Mahomes was both above him. I understand the difference wasn't much, but, at the same time, if someone drafted Mahomes and Hurts above you and you got Josh Allen in the 5th round or 4th round, you still felt good about it because you ended up with 30 points, 40 points a game. This man's always going to be slinging the ball down the field. No idea who he's going to be slinging it to. Well, we'll figure that out later, but it doesn't seem like it's going to be Diggs. But no, I mean, even if he doesn't have the best receiving options, he seems to make it work, and he can always do it with his legs, which, him and Jalen Hurts were getting the most rushing touchdowns for QBs. So.
Okay, well, I'm actually going with a completely different person than both of you guys. I'm going with Khalil Shakir. I think the cheapest you're going to get him is right now because you're never going to get him this cheap again. He has been their most consistent wide receiver through the back half of the season and the playoffs. And I think he was free before the season. I remember we were having a conversation about please don't drop Khalil Shakir because there is a good chance he ends up being an integral part of this team by the end of the season. And that's exactly what happened. I think the cheapest you're going to get him is going to be the end of the season because people will think it was a fluke, like a Gabe Davis-esque fluke. Fell for it once, I understand. But I think Khalil Shakir is actually the target I would be after.
Speaking of Gabe Davis, how did he fall off like that? Like, you look at the beginning of the year, like 5, 21, 12, 15, 22.
It's just
3,
inconsistent.
1, 23. Well, it was like he was actually consistent at the beginning of the year. We were like, oh, shit, this is the Gabe Davis year that everybody projected last year. I mean, sure, it was, touchdown laden, one catch for 35 yards and a touchdown. And then there was just like 2 targets, 0 targets, 2 targets, 0 target, 1 target, no catches in like 4 games.
I think they realize there's kind of only one thing you can do with Gabe Davis. I mean, Shakir really opens up what the offense can do when he's on the field.
Fair enough.
Gabe Davis and Diggs, I mean, Diggs is kind of running the same routes as Gabe Davis, and Gabe Davis is nowhere near as good as Stephon Diggs, so he gets scratched by default. Maybe if Diggs leaves, he gets a much better role, so maybe he is a buy low.
Shakir probably handed him an enchanted basketball and sucked his powers out.
He's got to go play on Moron Mountain now.
Oh, that's terrible. All right, on to the next team. We have the Carolina Panthers. Josh, this one is just ready for you because I have no clue.
So my actual answer is the wide receiver that is not on the team yet. I know it doesn't exist. Whoever they draft, whoever they pick up in free agency, T. Higgins, would be great.
Whoever they draft in like the third round.
Yeah, the third round. But no, I mean, honestly, though, like, I love how you said third round too. I did not know that you were saying. But anyway, I really would love for them to go and make a big signing at wide receiver. It's obviously sorely a disappointing position for them. But my answer is Bryce Young, actually. I don't think you'll have to give up a whole lot for him. I know that obviously if this isn't super flex league, Bryce Young should be pretty much free. I feel like nobody values quarterbacks as well as they should in leagues, but I feel like Bryce Young is the perfect example of, I'm over him. I just drafted him at the end of the first round, early second round. I think you could float a second round pick during the draft for Bryce Young with all these quarterbacks coming in. They can go grab themselves one that they like. Or, hypothetically, you can just end up with yourself a project, as I say. I don't think Bryce Young's done yet. And honestly, there's not a whole lot of talent left on this team other than, I could say Miles Sanders, but they obviously don't want to use him. And that offensive line's not getting any better anytime soon. So my thing is Bryce Young. I just feel like it's only got to go up. They got to go get him a wide receiver. They're going to get him a DJ Moore type, I'm assuming it's T. Higgins. But, I mean, there's other wide receivers that are going to be on the board out there for free agents. Go get someone. Maybe AJ Brown goes here. I doubt it, but you know what I mean? Like there's a lot of turmoil with the Philadelphia Eagles. What if he got an AJ Brown? I think Bryce Young is a relevant quarterback.
Yeah, that just reminds me. I know they could not have drafted him by not trading DJ Moore, but it just reminds me of the Family Guy where he's like, "Oh, the mystery box could even be a boat."
Honestly, and that's exactly what happened. Was they're like, "Yeah, let's give up DJ Moore and our first round pick next year for Bryce Young." And they're just like, man, we really need DJ Moore right now. And it's like, yeah, no fucking shit, dude. Like, what are you thinking?
Then you look at Baker Mayfield going deep in the playoffs, but I digress. Mine's Bryce Young, too. Bryce is better than what we've seen so far. It should be super cheap to acquire him. Josh, you said second round. I think a third round might even get it done at this point, especially if you wait till the draft.
I was saying late second. I'm not throwing an early second out there.
No, I'm just saying, like, you're in the draft and there's like some mediocre ass wide receiver on the board. Someone will get him for a third.
Interesting. I mean, I think I agree with you all. Just to offer another person, maybe Jonathan Mingo. I know Bryce Young really likes him a lot. He's definitely probably never going to be a 1. He could be a very good 2 to somebody that comes in at some point, but he is just so inefficient right now. Bryce also wasn't throwing him very good passes, so it's hard to totally blame him.
The target share in the later half of the season, though, it definitely sparks some. Bryce appreciates him and likes him. So
yeah, they clearly are they clearly have like a bond. It's just like, not exactly making anything good out of it. It's just a bond for bond's sake. So yeah, I think Bryce Young's the answer here.
Is there any love for Juba here? He's got another year with the team.
Fuck no, dude. I'm sorry. Like, stop trying to make Chuba Hubbard happen, dude. Like, it did. He was also averaging.
I'm not trying to make him happen.
No, I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about
usable.
The team. I'm talking about the team. Like, you literally have Miles Sanders, and you're like, no, Chuba's just better. And you're like, but you saw what Miles Sanders can do if you give him like time to work, right? No. 3 carries a game, and it's just like. I get it. Like, it wasn't working. It looked like on paper, it's like, yeah, he didn't have the average yards per carry. You can say that all you want, but at the same time, like, you don't have anyone to stop the blocks. You're a block for him. You put Miles Sanders in, they know you're running the ball. You didn't have him out there other than 4 plays a game. So you put him in, he's going to be running the ball.
Damian Pierce
too. Yeah, dude, Damian Pierce too. Wild.
We'll get to that. Well, probably not, but we might touch on it. All right, the next team on the list is the Chicago Bears. I think the easy answer here would be DJ Moore, but you're going to have to pay a king's ransom for the 6th best wide receiver in Dynasty. So with that being said, I'm probably going to pick Roschon Johnson. I think after the mess that was the running back position, he might actually be acquirable at this point, and you might be able to get him for not a first-round pick. You might be able to get him for something cheap. And I would just consider going after him because I think when it's all said and done and the dust settles and he's not injured, he will be the guy that you're going to want on this offense, I think, out of the players they have right now.
Yeah,
really, I don't appreciate your dig right there because he did finish. He did finish as the number 6 wide receiver overall this year. I think DJ Moore is acquirable because people are not giving him as much clout as he should be getting. But my pick is actually Darnell Mooney because Darnell Mooney was not used in this offense at all. I doubt we figure out a way to re-sign him. And wherever he goes, we know what Darnell Mooney can do. If he were to go to a team like the Chiefs,
the
like
Panthers?
the Chargers, no, he'd be the one right away. So I'd go.
I would take Mooney as wide receiver number 3 on the Eagles. That'd be phenomenal. I think there's a hatred among Darnell Mooney or Chicago Bears fans or anyone just Darnell Mooney. Gross. We got to remember he hit 1,000 yards with a rookie quarterback and nobody else on that team doing anything. Yeah, obviously had a pretty bad year too. But all right, my actual answer is Roschon Johnson. I think like Billy said, once the dust settles, we saw some expanded play for him later in the season, and I think he's the most consistent pass catching running back out of this field. And I think that Justin Fields, if he's there, or the other quarterback that comes in, is going to love having Roschon Johnson on the team. Never really got the start that we were expecting for a rookie. He was fine, you know. I mean, they give him 8 carries a game or whatever. It wasn't great, 8 touches a game, but I think this is what the running back in the future is going to be. They're not going to be after running backs. They're going to be after offensive line, maybe another wide receiver, but they have 3 running backs in the room right now. Khalil Herbert just didn't look like it. I thought he would be, honestly, but the drafting of Roschon, it always seems like a Bears running back always comes on in their second year, so.
Yeah, I think you could even get Kmet. I don't think DJ Moore is valued where he should be. I don't think Mooney. I don't think Kmet, Roschon.
I don't think you're getting
Fields. I think you could get anyone from the Bears for a decent price.
I just feel like with the hype of Caleb Williams or not, I mean, there's just too many eyes on the Bears to try to get DJ Moore. You saw, say they get Caleb Williams. Well, he's going to be even better than wide receiver 6 next year because Caleb Williams is the best quarterback to ever play football coming into the NFL now. And then, sorry, I don't know why he turned into a country guy that's talking.
I don't either.
And then,
Chicago.
And then you get Justin.
Yeah, no,
Fields,
the Bears.
There. Yeah, no, the Bears. Yeah, well, you get Justin Fields to stay there, and then you just be like, well, I mean, just go ahead and duplicate his numbers for next year, essentially.
I mean, fuck, I think you could trade for Justin Fields right now and get a great deal.
That would actually, I don't even know why we didn't think of that. Justin Fields probably is the trade target to get because as long as
I just assume he's not going to be on the team. We didn't actually set out the parameters of players that aren't going to be on the team. But
I picked some people on this list that aren't going to be on the team.
It's not a. It's a gray.
It's more
area,
of a guideline than a rule.
Exactly. We don't have to stick to it necessarily. What would be the most country fan base? I was thinking about it. It would be Tennessee probably or Atlanta. Probably not Atlanta, but I think Georgia country.
I don't know. I just feel like a Florida team.
Probably Tennessee. Yeah, I guess it could be a Florida team. It wouldn't be Miami. Maybe Tampa. Anywho, on
Jacksonville.
Well, that's true. Chiefs too.
All
right, very
Missouri now.
Midwestern. I don't know.
That's true. Next team on the list: Cincinnati Bengals. Joe, who do you want?
Chase Brown. Joe Mixon's a free agent in 25, so. I mean, honestly, they could phase him out and start using Chase Brown solely next year.
Joe, you hit the nail on the head. Hit the nail on the head. That's exactly who I had.
Yeah, I don't have enough faith in Chase Brown. I mean, I understand what you can get him for. I actually have T. Higgins. This was another part of that gray area because we know what T. Higgins is, and more than likely, honestly, I think there's a pretty good chance that he actually does come back to this team, just because whether it's a franchise tag or not, but they're losing Boyd, they're losing Mixon. There's no way they're going to want to lose number 2. And I don't know what they did with T. Higgins at the beginning of the year. It's really weird. Maybe they do want him off the team. Maybe he's bad for their locker room, or maybe they just fucking hate him. But I like him. Good wide receiver all around. He's going to go to a team, especially if he ends up being the number 1 at one of these teams. Tennessee Titans, we talked about at the beginning of the podcast. And then we got, Carolina Panthers. If T. Higgins is number 1 on that team, he's going to get featured. And I think he can be. I think he has the capability of being a wide receiver 1, and he's already lived as a wide receiver 2 for a couple of years. So it's not like he can't do it. So I understand your Chase Brown take, though.
I agree with Joe. Chase Brown's the answer.
That's fine. You can have whatever answer you want. Everybody's entitled to their opinions.
I don't know. I'm just saying I agree. All right. Pretty quick. Let's move on to Cleveland Browns. Josh, who do you got from the Cleveland Browns?
It's the man, the myth, the legend. That is David Njoku. Kyle Krzyzewski. Favorite. The man just Kudreski, obviously, dude. I know him. We're best friends.
Come on, man.
Lives in Philly. He's a Detroit fan, but he's having a great time. Anyway, what Njoku did with whatever quarterback was out there was looking great, just all around midseason, literally playing pretty much all of the snaps, getting 9-10 targets a game, even with Amari Cooper and Elijah Moore. I'm pretty sure he out-targeted. It was out-targeted of both of them. So just phenomenal all around, and I don't see this going anywhere. So,
yeah, I just
probably who I would pick.
Oh, go on.
No, I was saying that's probably who I would pick because I don't know what other player on this team. I just don't know who else you would go after. But Joe, I'm willing to listen to whoever you think.
Yeah, no, I like David Njoku. I had Elijah Moore. In the 5 games with Deshaun Watson, Moore had under 7 targets only one time. So he's a really solid buy low. And the charm really is worn off because last year you could not get Elijah Moore for anything. So
yeah, it's funny because he came from the Jets after doing basically nothing. And everybody was just like, no, Elijah Moore's going to be a big piece of that offense. And then look at it, same stats basically as this previous 2 years. I did think Elijah Moore. I was just really thinking David Njoku's so undervalued. Like, I don't think even the people who have David Njoku know what they have there. It's almost untapped potential. But Elijah Moore, especially if Amari Cooper leaves in free agency or, I don't know where his contract's at, but I assume it's probably ending. But Elijah Moore could be, a lot better if given the actual workload instead of having quick slants for him, because I feel like that's about all he ever gets.
Yep. Elijah Moore got there and they got rid of DPJ, so they clearly like him.
You'd think so.
Yeah, well, the Lions don't seem to be using them either, other than punt returns. Weird. All right, on to the Dallas Cowboys. I am not going to lie. I am going to say CeeDee Lamb. I think you should break out the King's ransom. Go for the best target on the team. I think he's going to be good for the next several years. And listen, he was wide receiver 2, 3 this year?
Number 1.
What more do I need to say? I think this right here is going to be the CeeDee Lamb that you get for the next couple of years, even if he has, other than injury based. But I think other than that, you've got your guy.
I have to disagree with you. I do not think you should buy CeeDee Lamb. I think everyone sees what they have now. Anyone who had CeeDee Lamb before this was like, we hope he's going to be this, and he is now. You can't buy him. You don't want to buy him. You're going to be rebuilding for the next 3 years if you go buy him in a dynasty league right now. My answer is actually Dak Prescott, and once again, there's a lot of hate going on with not Dak Prescott specifically, but just the Cowboys organization as a whole. Another failed year. Dak Prescott is pretty cheap for QB3. Nobody's valuing him at QB3. He's valued at QB8. People don't care about quarterbacks in Dynasty. And I think that Dak, unless you're in a super flex league, I think you can actually get him for relatively cheap. You can flip someone, Justin Herbert out for him, something like that. I mean, a good quarterback, but Dak, if he's on the Cowboys next year, it's going to be very similar numbers, him and CD all day. If he's not on the Cowboys, he's going to be on a team that's making a run. So, I mean, he's not going to the Carolina Panthers or something like that. Most of these shitty teams, no offense, Carolina Panthers fans, already have their quarterback of the future and aren't going to be able to do anything with it. So Dak will be going to the Raiders or, a team that has some weapons, that has some talent around him. We've seen what Dak's been. He's not been super consistent, but he knows how to find his number 1.
Yeah, very solid. I'm going to switch it up again. I'm going Tony Pollard. We had Tom Chris on the pod last week, and he mentioned that it's not uncommon to see a player's production suffer after a fractured fibula. He actually gained some momentum at the end of the season. I got to see where he ends up, but I love the talent, and if he's in the right position, I think Tony Pollard is very acquirable at the moment.
I don't hate that.
I don't disagree with you. He is acquirable, and seeing running back 14 next to his name is just wild.
Yeah, because everyone hates him.
Yeah,
100%. He didn't.
I guess I was gonna say, I guess another name we could have thrown out was Jake Ferguson. He's another guy that I think you could probably get reasonably cheap, and he has a decent tight end option. Cowboys just have good options. That's all you win. Josh, would you rather have CeeDee Lamb or Marvin Harrison Jr.
CeeDee Lamb, you got the
in
perfect commodity.
Dynasty?
Yeah, I mean, it's still CeeDee Lamb. I mean, I'm not trading.
So you would trade the 101 right now for CeeDee Lamb?
Yeah, nobody's going to do that, though. Okay. I'm just saying, like, CeeDee Lamb's value at this moment. It's just like, think about it. We had Justin Jefferson. We had Jamar Chase. We've seen injury years. I'm not saying CeeDee Lamb's going to be injured, but you trade the King's ransom for the number one, wide receiver at the time. Doesn't mean he's going to be number one anyway. And then number two, you never know what's going to happen with injuries. I feel like keep your pawns, keep your pieces. I'd rather have Jerry Jeudy, Cortland Sutton, Devontae Smith, and a second round pick than CeeDee Lamb, which I still don't even think would get the job done. So
fair enough. All right. Next team on the list is the Denver Broncos. Joe, who is muted, please let us have who you want from the Broncos.
Yeah, well, since we're on the Broncos, you would rather have the Broncos receiving core and a second round pick than CeeDee Lamb? Did I hear
I'm
that
saying I was just picking random people. I'm saying that job would not get it done. I don't know why. I guess my brain naturally switched to the Denver Broncos because we were on Dallas.
Throw Tim Patrick in there too, Joe, just for safety.
Yeah. Can I get the often injured Tim Patrick?
The ghost of Tim Patrick too.
I'm just saying those. I was really thinking like pre-draft, like wide receiver 30s, wide receiver 20s that have the potential to break out. Obviously, we see what happened. It wasn't great.
Yeah. I really want to go Marvin Mims here. I'm just going to stick with Javonte. I'm still believing in him.
Okay.
Everyone's really down on Javonte Williams. I think Sean Payton's going to figure out a way. They're going to tweak that team a little bit more, and he's going to have more opportunity.
I completely agree. That's who I have as well. We don't know what's happening with Jeudy. It hasn't been great in the past. Anyway, he had one good year last year. It failed this year. You got Cortland Sutton, who is probably going to another team, and it looked okay this year, although he was kind of the favorite there. We know Russ is out. It's Javonte. That's the one staple of this team that isn't going to be changing. And honestly, I think that it's going to benefit him. We didn't know what he was going to look like off the ACL. I think this would be this is going to be a way better year, and I think you're getting him for cheap. You can say, it's been 3 years, and he still hasn't even hit wide receiver 20 or running back 20. I'll take him off your hands. I think Javonte does have an actual great year. I think Sean Payton gets back to the basics. Who knows who they're going to have at quarterback, whether it's rookie or a vet. But got to get this team moving the ball down the field somehow. Defense is good too.
So my answer for this is also let me just take him off your hands player. It's Jaleel McLaughlin. I think that you can get him cheap, and I think they're going to find ways to use him. I don't think he's going to usurp Javonte. I'm not making my Tony Pollard's taking Zeke. I'm not going to make one of those things. I'm just saying I think he is going to be used creatively, like a Keaton Mitchell type thing for Baltimore, where he's maybe not the bruiser getting it done, but I think he could get some touches, and I think you could probably get him dirt cheap right now. There's no way somebody's holding on tight to Jaleel McLaughlin. I just don't believe it.
Yeah, and actually, both of the issues with both of these people, I should say, is the fact that Samaje Perine was just poaching all pass workload and just taking too much of this team. I think that these two together can make a force of running backs. Sorry, Joe. Yes, please answer.
No, I was just telling Billy that I am the one person that is holding on to Jaleel McLaughlin.
Joe's diamond hands. He shows up for the Jaleel McLaughlin meetings. It's just him and one other guy.
No, honestly, I think you could acquire Sutton. No one believes in this team at all, even though he had a crazy year. He's through. I think he's got 2 more years left, and then I think they trade Jerry Jeudy this offseason. I really do. So Mims is
on the ball
too.
Yeah, that's true. All right, on to the Detroit Lions. Josh, who do you want?
Well, I just was pulling it up for you guys, but I'll go ahead and say mine, and then you guys can say who you think you should trade for. My guy is Jameson Williams. I think that with this team, it's going to become greater and greater need for their wide receiver 2 to show up. And once again, Jameson Williams has a slow start to the season, but starts getting more and more workload towards the end of the season. You already know who Laporta is. You already know who Monroe St. Brown is. You know who Gibbs and Montgomery are. yes, you can say to buy any of those players, but you're paying a king's ransom. They're making the NFC Championship, potentially the Super Bowl at the moment. Jameson Williams is essentially free after 3 years of football or 2 years of football. And the numbers haven't looked good, but if they ever unleash what Jameson Williams can be, I think number one, you're not overpaying for him. And number two, you're getting, the next Deshaun Jackson type, the next big play guy that also can do other things. That's what I've liked most about Jameson Williams in the end of the season and postseason so far, is they're using him on other routes now. It's not just, hey, you go run the deep route, we'll see if it works. There's, of course, that play at any time, but there's also the, explosive slant, the explosive curl that he can turn into extra yards. So,
okay. I mean, I don't want to, but I hear you. I am backing up the Brinks truck and I'm getting me a Sam Laporta. I hear what you're saying. It's a lot to pay for this, time, and you're probably going to have to wait closer to the draft. But I would be dropping a big bag of money on whoever's porch that has him, because I know he's going to be a set and forget tight end for the next 5-10 years. So why bother having someone else on your team when you're going to have some player? The only reason you wouldn't want him is if your Dynasty league isn't going to last, 7 years, because that's how long you're going to have him, and you're not going to worry about it.
I guess, honestly, I guess Laporta is reachable in price. I guess I just have him in too many leagues is what it comes down to, as you see my name a little above little Sam right there.
Your name is up there. I love your take on Sam Laporta. I actually did JMO too. I think Josh Reynolds is going to be a free agent. They're going to try to resign him, but they do have JMO, DPJ, and Cleve Raymond still signed for a while. And JMO has actually been featured more, and I feel like we'll see him more next year. So I'm still on the Jameson Williams train, but I like the Laporta train.
I just feel like you have the tight end one on your team. People just, speaking for myself, I'm not going to trade him. Why would I?
I have the tight end one. I have Trey McBride. So
it might take a lot, but at the same time,
you'd have to give me Trey McBride for me to want to do that.
It's who I would be after for sure. I would be trying my hardest to get them away. I know we're going to talk about this more as the whole offseason goes on. What do you guys think offensively the Detroit Lions should be after in the draft?
Offensive line. Big
They have a
guys.
real
No. That's not true. I think I noticed who's the big power defensive tackle that's in the draft. Awesome name. Already forgot. Thanks, Billy. Jesus
Offensively,
Christ.
I ask you,
Defense,
what should they be after in the draft? I know the
Oh,
question I asked was offensively, what should they be after in the draft?
Offensive line. Sorry, I already answered that question.
Their line's pretty sick, man. A big-bodied number one wide receiver.
I'm thinking the same thing. I think they might be after a wide receiver. Maybe not for not to take away a Monra or JMO, but I think they could be after a wide receiver at some point. So that is definitely something I'm going to be monitoring, and definitely somebody who in rookie drafts, even if they take him in the 4th or 5th round, that we need to be paying attention to. Because
I was going to say,
could you imagine A.T. Perry on that team? Just
exactly.
6'5" dude. Yeah.
That would be
actually
insane.
they are losing
Johnny Wilson.
They're actually losing 3 guards this offseason, potentially, unless they re-sign them. So yeah, they're probably going to go offensive line.
They have a fuck ton of cap space, dude. They could get
I'm glad
Higgins if
Josh
they wanted
is bringing
to.
up fun fantasy conversations that involve.
I'm sorry, it's offensive. What they're going to do is they're going to draft an offensive lineman in round 1. They're going to draft maybe a defensive tackle or a running mate for Aiden Hutchinson, because that's what they mainly need on this.
So
team.
4th or 5th round, if they take a random wide receiver, which is what we're suggesting, be fun.
Detroit Lions have the most cap space. They could get T. Higgins if they wanted to.
Oh, here we go. I love it, Joe. Yes. Good trade for Jerry Jeudy.
Man.
All right. On to the next team. I'm moving it along for some reason.
Next team is the Green Bay Packers. There is so many wide receivers on this team that I would be after. I think I'm after not Jaden Reed. I'm after Romeo Doubs. I do like what Jaden Reed's been doing. I do like how they're utilizing him in this offense, but I just love Romeo Doubs' game, and I really like how Jordan Love throws. I just like everything about him. This is who I would be after. I don't even know what the price tag is. I'm going to have to look and try to trade for him this offseason just to kind of gauge it, but I don't even know what he would be priced at.
I think price tag wise, Christian Watson's still going to be the most expensive for some stupid reason because there's just this like weird knowledge that he's the best receiver on the team. I think Jaden Reed, the most consistent wide receiver on the team, who gets the most targets, the most like consistent play, makes the most out of his plays. Romeo Doubs hits a home run on occasion. I will say it looks great on paper. If you look at the numbers later, Romeo Doubs might actually be more expensive than Jaden Reed, other than the fact that it's only 1 year in. But I think Jaden Reed is the future.
All three, like even Wicks, like you would want Wicks, Jaden Reed, or Doubs. Like it's
give me all four. I will roll dice every Sunday and figure out who to start.
Oh, it said Jaden Reed and Doubs. I got to play them. No, honestly, I think it's going to be great for the future of the Packers organization. As much as I loved seeing them lose, I also loved seeing them beat the Cowboys. And I just want to thank you all out there, Green Bay Packers, for your service.
Joe, was there a different answer you had, or was it one of those three?
Yeah, I had Luke Musgrave. I just think he's going to continue to get better in this offense. I love the wide receivers, man. I would try to trade for Christian Watson. I would try to trade for Jaden Reed. Listen, I have Jaden Reed in a ton of leagues. I'm very high on him going into this season. The way they use him scares the shit out of me. He's basically a plus version of Mecole Hardman, how they use him. If he doesn't score those touchdowns, I'm really worried about what happens, especially with the way they use these wide receivers. So I love Jaden Reed. I think he's only going to get better. But if someone else has him on their team, you could probably get him for a discount just because if they're paying any attention, they're probably worried about it.
I'm buying Jaden Reed. I thought it was pretty clear that that's who I thought. So just buy their wide receivers. Just get them. Add them onto a trade.
Get one of them.
Get one of them.
For sure. All right. After seeing how many teams we have left, we're going to speed this up a little bit. A little speed round, a couple of teams here.
There you go. Houston Texans. Go get CJ Stroud. He is the cheapest you will ever get him. There you go.
I think the draft is the cheapest you'll ever get him.
Well, I agree. I would be after.
I'm talking about in the future plus, buddy.
That 108 is cheapest you're going to get him. Go on.
I'd be after
111,
Tank Dell. I would be after Tank Dell. That's who I would be after. I think that the best is yet to come for him. I know he had a catastrophic injury. We'll see how that goes in the offseason, but I would be after Tank Dell.
Fair enough.
Yep. I'm going to go after Damian Pierce. Only CMC and Derrick Henry faced more men in the box last year than Pierce. They knew they were running the ball when he was on the field, and he loves contact, so that's a huge problem. So I think they give him an offseason and get him going.
I think Riley Reed faced a lot of men in the box, too.
Okay. Just gonna let that one sit.
On to the next team, Indianapolis Colts.
All right. Indianapolis Colts. Josh.
It is Michael Pittman. I don't care if he's on the team or not. He is the most talented person for the cheapest price tag that you're going to find. Jonathan Taylor, sure, would be great, like if you could get him, but more than likely you're basically just swapping a good running back for him. Michael Thomas should be he's just hated amongst fantasy football for some reason, and he looked phenomenal this year.
Joe?
Yeah, I'm going after Jelani Woods. He's 6'7", 253, and none of their other 50 tight ends separated themselves this year. So I think once he's back from the double hamstring, he'll be just fine.
I would double check the price on Anthony Richardson, and then after they showed me what it was and I laughed in their face, I would probably go after Michael Pittman. We're talking
okay, I really thought Joe was going to say Michael Pittman, so I was just like shocked when he said Jelani Woods.
No, I feel like I at least need to ask with whoever has Anthony Richardson, what would you realistically take? And then send like $5 million. I'll be like, I'm good, and probably go to the Michael Pittman person. So, yeah, that's probably all you got from the Colts. All right, Jacksonville Jaguars. Joe, who do you want from the Jacksonville Jaguars?
Parker Washington.
Interesting.
I had him taking Brian Thomas in our mock drafts. If they re-signed Calvin Ridley, their third pick that they traded now becomes a second. So I don't think they're doing that. I don't think it'd be crazy for him just to ride with Parker Washington.
Okay. Yeah, I'm actually the complete opposite. I'm going Travis Etienne. What he did this year, I think you can convince them that it's a fluke and that this team's not that. I don't think anyone. He's the one running back in the top 5 that I think is available. that's not like, no, shut the fuck up. I think if you have Travis Etienne right now on your team, you're fielding offers at the very least. And if you can get someone good out of it, I think nobody's going to give you anything good out of it. But I think that Travis Etienne is just buyable. Like running back 3 on the year, it just feels like he wasn't, even though he was great the whole year. But like
you would have to be like a timeshare salesman batting an 87% if you tried to sell me that Etienne was a fluke.
I'm just saying, I
no way he's off my team.
I agree, but I just don't think that the love's out there for him. That's why I just think you can get him. My other option would be Christian Kirk because he had the best year out of them.
Well, I was going to say Christian Kirk, but I actually think you're right, Josh, about Travis Etienne. I feel like you could buy him right now. I think people who have him are going to be wanting to get off of him, thinking that this year was a fluke. Sorry, Joe. I agree. I think that might be. That's how I would think if I had him. I don't, but I would think that if I did.
I have him in a Dynasty League, and he's going to be for sale. I also have.
I want to get off of him.
What's up? Let's talk about it.
Rather than a year too late. Okay, well, you all can take this one off the
You're
air.
Not in the league, buddy.
I am going to go next with the Kansas City Chiefs. Mine is Rashee Rice. I know. Look, he's going to be expensive. I don't know how expensive yet. I would be interested to see what somebody would be pricing him, but it's hard for me not to want to at least check in on him because I know how much Patrick likes him. I do think they're going to bring in a wide receiver this offseason. Could be Diggs, could be Hopkins, somebody in the draft. But I do think that Rashee Rice has a spot on this team, and he has Patrick's trust, which goes a really long way.
Obviously, we saw a lot of that late in the season, and even in the postseason at the moment. I completely agree with you. I think it's going to. I just think that everybody thinks that he is a solid option. I think what you want to do is get the next wide receiver that's on the team. I assume that they're going to draft one in the first round. Like that's my thing. Is like I'm not saying he's going to be better than Rashee Rice. I just think that you have a better chance of going and getting. Everyone on the Chiefs is going to be expensive. And I think that's why, obviously, Mahomes is pretty much not for sale. Kelsey's getting close to retirement, so you don't really want to trade for him. He's pretty much balling out on whoever's team he's on. My guy's Isaiah Pacheco. I don't care where he goes. I think this running back is he's another just underrated running back out there that just balled out this season, and we're going to continue to see it. I think no matter what they do in the offseason, unless they go get DeAndre Hopkins and T. Higgins and throw just this monster wide receiver class out there, they're most likely drafting wide receiver. You got Rashee Rice and whatever other Richie James and whatever wide receivers are back there. Pacheco's still the number one on this team. He's still the focal point, and he still gets the love from Mahomes, and I don't think Andy Reid changes it. This league's, for some reason, going away against running backs at this point, but they need to continue using running backs because that's how you win football games. So,
yeah, okay. That's a really good answer. Billy, I have the exact same reasoning for Rashee Rice that you have, but I don't think people understand what Rashee Rice has done this year. I don't think he's as expensive as you think he is. I really don't. I think there's an expectation that there's going to be another wide receiver there next year, and you were absolutely right that chemistry between him and Mahomes has only grown. I don't think that's going away, but I think everyone's pretty down on the wide receivers. And
I 100% disagree with you, but Joe, I'm sorry, and not Billy, but Billy gave a pretty good option. Everybody knows what Rashee Rice has done. We're seeing it in the postseason. We saw it all at the end of the season. I know that the numbers, if you look back at, he was wide receiver 27 or whatever, you're not going to think about it like that. But if you look at weeks 10 through 17, all double-digit points, all Mahomes' trust. Everyone watches the Kansas City Chiefs. We live in Missouri, so I guess maybe we're just a little bit more pre-exposed to this. But in general, you are not getting Rashee Rice for cheap. You're going to have to overpay for him, and that's the problem for me.
Where do you think the Rashee Rice goes in redraft next year? Just ballparking it right now.
3rd round, 4th round.
Yeah, probably 4th.
I think you're right, and that is a very expensive dynasty option.
Yeah, I just feel like everyone's going to see that. Everyone's going to think that Mahomes is number one option. Even if they draft a rookie in the 1st round, they're still going to think Mahomes loves him. Mahomes has a trust, like Billy said. And I do agree with you. I would love to have him for my team, but I just don't think I don't think it's worth the buy, personally. I think you're going to get very similar numbers. Wide receiver 20, 15. I don't know.
Well, I'm going to be after him, but we're in leagues with a bunch of Kansas City fans, and it's really going to be tough to get him because they're overpricing the hell out of him. See Travis Kelce and Patrick Mahomes the last few years.
Yeah.
All right, on to the Las Vegas Raiders. Joe, who on the Raiders would you be after?
Zamir White. He did enough to earn the job, so he's my guy.
I don't disagree with him. Jacobs is gone. There's no way
Okay,
he comes back.
I'm happy to hear that.
That's
Josh.
not who I
You
picked.
hate
That's
Zamir White.
not who I picked. Zamir White got me into the playoffs, got me to the second seed, man. Like I am 100% a Zamir White stan. I probably owe him a jersey with my earnings this year. I started him in 3 of 4 leagues in the playoffs, and I made it to the championship in 3 of those leagues. So Zamir White for sure. I'm not actually, that's not my guy. I do agree with Joe. That's what I'm trying to say. Devontae Adams is my guy. You got to trade for him now. You got more years on Devontae's life. That this year was a fluke, and I think everyone just assumes once you see a 30-year-old wide receiver not do it, he's basically probably the cheapest you think he's ever been in Dynasty at this moment. I don't think you overpay for him. You want to give him a Hopkins and whatever type, like another veteran wide receiver. Stephon Diggs would be a fair trade. Stephon Diggs for Devontae Adams, depending on if you hate Stephon Diggs, whatever. I'm not saying that's what you should do, but I just think that Devontae Adams is actually viable right now for the first time in his career, and he's not done. Whether he's in the Raiders, whether they get a quarterback, or whether he goes to a new team, it's Devontae Adams. Maybe he goes to the fucking Jets and joins Aaron Rodgers.
I guess on the reason he could leave, that would be a good buy. My option, who will be on the team next season, is Michael Mayer. I don't think we've even seen what he's going to be, and they got to still bring in a good quarterback. They got to develop the offense a little bit more. I think they need to get somebody in there who can. I don't know. The person had Aiden O'Connell. Like, what could they really have done? So I just think
my logic.
Michael Mayer would be the guy. It's hard. It's really hard to judge anybody on this team based off what we saw this year. Jacoby Myers is another one that you might be interested in buying because of what he was able to do with Aiden O'Connell, but it's tough to come out and say that right away.
There's a new quarterback in this team next year, and I'm assuming it's probably going to be a veteran. Like Kirk Cousins throwing to Devontae Adams and Michael Mayer could be amazing. You know what I mean? Like whether that happens or someone else. But I agree with all of our choices, honestly. I think the Vegas might be the cheapest team to buy people from.
It's true. All right, on to the Los Angeles Chargers. Josh, who do you want from the Chargers?
It's finally time. It's by Justin Herbert. I've been wrong on this for the last 2 to 3 years at this point. It is time to buy Justin Herbert. Jim Harbaugh's there. I understand he's defensive-minded, but this team's only going to get better. Their weapons are there. The team is there. The offense is there. It should be better. And it's not Justin Herbert's fault. I really think it was Staley's fault. The play calling didn't work. Jim's going to go out there and get a good offensive coordinator. This team's going to be better, and they have to. There's no way this team's worse than they have been. They can't keep losing. They'll make the playoffs next year. I 100% call that right now.
Joe,
anyone want a fireball bet long term?
Of what? No. Them making the playoffs next year?
Yeah.
No, I think with that defense, they'll definitely be in the playoffs.
With Jim Harbaugh, I do think they're headed to the playoffs. They were good.
I thought that might have been a little bit of a wild take.
I don't think so. I think Brandon Staley, he was going to keep. He didn't want to go to the playoffs.
Yeah, he was playoff phobic right there. I'm going to go with Derwin James because it's the only person on this entire team that I want in Dynasty.
Interesting. Okay.
You don't want an aging wide receiver, and we didn't get a good wide receiver. Eckler's probably gone and probably, I don't want to say done. They still have
Elijah Dotson's 25 years old as a rookie. Like, fuck off.
I'm going with Joe's legend, Simi Fehoko. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, I think you're right. I think I don't even think Derwin James is going to be on this team next year. If somebody's willing to admit that they were wrong, I would probably take Quentin Johnston for cheap, just as a flyer. But I think whoever drafted him early in the first round last season is probably never going to admit they're wrong at this point. It's the Kyle Pitts conundrum, but much worse, honestly. And I don't think you're going to be able to get him cheap. So yeah, it's just a bad roster to try to get anybody from, to be perfectly honest with you.
Yeah, I just think Herbert's the value. Anyway, let's get off this team.
On to a less depressing team, the Los Angeles Rams. I would love to see who you all think you're going to be able to get for the price.
That's everyone's too expensive.
It's a very pricey team when it comes to the options here.
So I actually traded Puka for CD Lamb last year, which in a dynasty league, and honestly, like it was a wash. Like I don't even think it was a win for either team. I think it was just a good trade all around.
Yeah,
but at the same time, Puka's the target, but you can't get him. You're going to have to pay too much. And what if it just doesn't work? What if Stafford leaves and there's just a shitty quarterback and doesn't work? I think the option actually is Kyron Williams. That's my pick. Just because of I also think you're gonna have to pay too much, but I mean you're gonna have
how cheap's that gonna be?
I don't think it's gonna be super cheap, but he might not even be on the team next year. I mean, I assume he will be. But they might
say that for everyone, but he's gonna be there.
I imagine he will be, but are they gonna pay him? People don't pay running backs anymore, and
he's only in year 2, so he's good for a little bit longer.
I guess
I'm actually wondering where Kyron Williams goes in redraft, because I think he might sneak late first round, early second round, and that is just not a world I want to live in right now. But I'm just thinking out loud without knowing who they add or anything. But there's a chance that happens. I mean, he was really good this season, and I don't know how you take that away from people's eyes.
I mean, he was really the only other bell cow besides McCaffrey.
Yeah.
I think you can't convince someone Puka's worth selling. I think you could convince them Kyron's worth selling, because I think that they do believe that another running back is going to be on this team, and it very well could be, but I don't see how Kyron would be usurped from that RB1 role. So
I just feel like the Rams would go draft a running back in the 3rd round or something, and then you can try to convince them to get rid of Kyron. That's going to be a split workload. Kyron can't do that forever. That's
kind of a nightmare.
Yeah.
Maybe it's
really think they're going to take Jonathan Brooks, and it's just going to shit all over our plans.
If that, Joe, I hate that you even said those words. If he ends up there, I'm going to be very mad.
It would honestly be the perfect pick.
Lord only knows then what's going to happen after that.
I actually think Jonathan Brooks is going to be a phenomenal addition. Like I know he's.
Well, I think he is too, but for fantasy, it's just a grenade in a.
Not going to go to the Rams, dude. They can't afford him.
They can afford a 3rd round pick.
It's a rookie.
He's going to be in the 2nd round, guys. I don't know what he was.
No, he's not. Okay.
We're going to move on to the Miami Dolphins. My buy is Devon Achane. He's going to be expensive as bleep, but I'm hoping somebody's maybe willing to look past the 2 crazy games he had this season and see that maybe he's not like that guy. But I don't know. It would be worth asking at least what the price is.
Yeah, you're not. This is just another one of those teams you just shouldn't be buying from. You should either have them, or if you're trading them, you're trading someone great for him. So it's just like you're swapping hopefuls basically. But I had A-Chain as well. If you're going to get anyone, it's him, and just try to convince that back half of the season is more likely than the 2 explosive games.
It's Waddle. It's Jalen Waddle. He shit the bed. I think everyone's whatever. They don't like him right now. This is the time to strike to draft him.
I just think Waddle is they're just diamond hands because they think Tyreek's going to retire after next season, and those people are just irrational when it comes to when Tyreek leaves, he's going to be the I don't know. It's just going to be tough to get.
Yeah,
with him.
I don't think Tyreek actually retires, especially with what they're going to do again next year. They're going to look just as similar. So.
And word on the street is his new wife burned his house down. That's where the fire started, and then they got divorced. That's a rumor.
Didn't he also impregnate 3 girls around the same time too?
That's right. More reckless speculation. This is all reckless speculation. Everyone, we do not know these things for a fact.
I want to get Tyreek on the pod. Can we get him on the pod to clear some of this stuff up?
I heard that he's actually firing rockets at cargo ships.
Reckless speculation from Joe. All right, on to a less reckless team, and that is the Minnesota Vikings. Joe, who do you want from the Minnesota Vikings?
I want Ty Chandler, man.
100%.
I think that he absolutely kicked ass. He was on pace with points per touch with Alvin Kamara, Isaiah Pacheco. Everyone was worried about pass protection, but I mean, I think he did pretty good when he got the chance.
This is a team that is running backless at the moment. Madison's not the guy. We learned that, if anything. But yeah, Ty Chandler, what he showed was just explosiveness. You can't buy Jefferson if you tried. And Addison is just worth more than he should be. Unfortunately, he's going to be overvalued just because of the year that he had and being a rookie last year, being a top rookie last year. So, yeah, it's Ty Chandler.
Hawkinson is interesting if he does end up missing part of the beginning of next season. It is interesting to at least ask about it.
You're not going to get the value, though. Everyone that has Hawkinson is going to say, it's fine, he'll be back, and then he'll be back week 8. If you could trade for him week 6 next year, week 4 next year, and you're like, hey, bro, he's not coming back. He's not coming back for half the season.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
For now.
That's what I'm saying. Somebody may be like, shit, how am I going to do this without, like, you may be able to talk them into it. It's a later in the offseason deal,
it's
even in next season.
End of offseason, start of week 1.
You would have to be a contender to make that move, to think you were going to win. You needed a tight end. I think you have to have someone that could get you through the season, but you can't buy him if you're rebuilding. And even if you're a middling team, you can't give up those sort of draft picks. But I do like your thought there.
Well, if you're a guy who has Dalton Kincaid, Trey McBride, and Sam Laporta somehow, or some weird concoction of that, and you're just like, yeah, let me flip one of these guys for Hawkinson, who I think's better, like, or just,
you could realistically have all 3 of those guys. I mean, 100%. Sam Laporta went in the 3rd, Trey McBride went in the 4th. Like, you could easily get that. Okay. On to the New England Patriots. I'm just going to skip. Even Ramondre Stevenson, I don't want any part of anybody on this team. So I'm just going to skip.
Mine's Stevenson as well, and it's because he's going to be on a new team next year.
That's fair. Joe, is there anybody that Demario Douglas?
I think Demario Douglas showed enough to – I mean, I don't think he's going to be the one when it's all said and done, but he showed enough to be serviceable.
Well, we didn't talk about Gerard Mayo. He is the new head coach. He just basically, took over for Bill Belichick. He did say that they are going to be spending a lot of money in free agency this offseason. So I think we're going to have a brand new roster of players. I think there's a lot of guys that are going to be cut. It's kind of tough. I think Demario Douglas is safe. Ramondre Stevenson's, I think, is on the cutting room floor. We'll see. I think there's going to be a brand new roster of guys here. So this is kind of a tough one to say with the Patriots. On to the New Orleans Saints. Josh, do you have a Saint that you would like to buy?
It's Kendra Miller. He's the incumbent Alvin Kamara. It didn't happen in his rookie year, but we're going to see it. We saw some flashes of it, but it just wasn't quite there. Especially it's hard. It's a tough task for like 3 games for Kendra Miller to break out beforehand. They're still giving Jamal Williams the ball. He's the future. Whether it's next year or the year after, I think you could get Kendry for a decent price.
That was my answer as well.
Yeah, that is. It was and it always has been Kendra Miller. I think A.T. Perry deserves a shout out here, but
yeah, he is relatively the future, but. Olave is just not worth it, the price-wise, I should say. He is a good wide receiver. I just don't think his price tag is going to match his output.
And Shaheed is just – you cannot trust Shaheed to do that the whole season.
You tried many times.
What he was able to do last season was crazy, but I think it's like Josh Palmer a couple seasons ago where it's just circumstantially that's what happened. I don't think that that's long-term going to be what happens. So also not a guy I would be buying. Okay, on to the New York Giants. My personal pick for this team is Jalen Hyatt. I think we have not seen the best of Hyatt because the quarterback sucks and they need to get a new one. So I think whenever they have finally decide, realize what the rest of us see is Daniel Jones sucks, they'll bring a guy in and Jalen Hyatt will be one of the beneficiaries of that right away. He was very good in college. I think he didn't get enough chances this season.
So my pick's actually going to be either Jason Pinnock or Micah McFadden. We are on an IDP channel, so I'm going to go ahead and take this. So Micah McFadden had a phenomenal year quietly under Okereke. And then our guy, McKinney, going to be potentially gone for the first time. I assume they're not going to re-sign him, although they might. Pinnock had a pretty good year at safety. It would be Saquon Barkley, but he's still too expensive. I would just go on defense because you're going to get some fantasy points on this defense right here. And I don't think anyone with Micah McFadden or Pinnock are like, yeah, I have to have him. think he's an easy. Those are easy add-ons in the dynasty market.
Fair enough, Joe.
I think it's Jalen Hyatt. I think if you get Daniel Jones back there healthy, he's got the arm to actually make use of Jalen Hyatt. So I think that's the guy. He can at least throw it far.
That's true.
Did you say Daniel Jones?
Yeah.
No.
He's not going to.
He said is Daniel Jones has the arm to get the ball to him. And I was like, does he know? I don't know.
Yeah, Daniel Jones is not starting for the New York Giants next year.
He might. I don't know. We'll see. And they
I
probably
think
will
they
draft
kind
a wide
of
receiver.
they probably made him that contract kind of
He's got one more year to start. There's no shot.
I wouldn't buy or sell Jalen Hyatt if I were anyone. Number one, you didn't get a fair shot at a rookie year. And number two, I would not buy him because you don't know what the fuck you're getting. You're getting another Giants wide receiver. This is Isaiah Hodgins, Sterling Shepard.
Moves like that are how empires are built.
Okay.
Truth.
New York Jets.
Nobody. I mean, there's just nobody to buy. I mean, Garrett Wilson's too expensive. Whoever has Garrett Wilson, there's no way that they're going to now get rid of him after waiting this entire season.
It's the Calvin Ridley situation, basically.
And Breece Hall's way too expensive. So I don't think there is an offensive player on this team that you can go after. I don't think.
You get Allen Lazard.
Joe.
Hey, Rodgers loves him, man. It's real. Abanaconda.
Yeah, I would say actually my answer was Abanaconda just because if anything is to happen to Breece or if they want to just take it easy on Breece for the future, he's going to be the incumbent there. I just personally you're right, Billy. This is just the lost Calvin Ridley season for the whole fucking team. Because nobody was trading Calvin Ridley last year because they're like, no, we finally got something. We're gonna hold. We're gonna see what happens. I'm not selling it as lowest. You can't sell Garrett Wilson or Breece Hall, and nobody will.
It's true. All right, on to the Philadelphia Eagles. Josh, which player can you buy off of the Philadelphia Eagles?
DeAndre Swift is the only person you can really buy that is relevant in fantasy football. DeAndre Swift going to a new team more than likely. I assume the Eagles won't sign a running back considering they wouldn't sign Miles Sanders. That would be a slap in the fucking face if they did sign Swift, which I personally think they should. I think they should, with especially all the running backs that are on the market. Saquon would be great though, but no, I think Swift will have a good season, and I think he can be a split backfield running back still too. And he showed that he can stay fully healthy with a relatively full workload, or a Philadelphia Eagles full workload, which is 3/4 of a normal running back's workload. But yeah, it's DeAndre Swift. You can't buy AJ, you can't buy Hurts, even with all the drama around him. You're not getting either of those players. And then Swift or Smith, I would love to buy, but I just still. That might be the one person you can buy that,
Well, that's what my answer was going to be, Devonta Smith. I think that while it will be a little pricey, I do think that you can, from a manager that has him, that's thinking like, I have the wide receiver 2 on this team. I need to improve my roster a little bit. I think you can talk them into maybe giving him to you for not a super high exorbitant amount. So that would be my target.
Averaging 1,000 yards a season. I mean, 5 touchdowns, 6.5 touchdowns average. I mean, I would take that on my team anytime.
For sure.
Should be able to. I just feel like with all the
AJ
Brown drama, he could potentially be the wide receiver 1. Joe?
I think it's Swift. I hope he goes somewhere else.
I think they should bring him back. I mean, again, they're going to have to see who their new offensive coordinator wants. That might change things, but I think
I personally think they should sign him. I think running back market is going to be shit for years, and just go get one for 2 years. Like, you don't have to pay him a shit ton. I think Swift would be
I think Derrick Henry.
Here's the thing: you're not going to get him for a lot.
I think Derrick Henry can push a tush.
I don't think you would need to push. But you don't have Kelsey anymore, so that will change things.
He's not retired yet, by the way.
Not official, but I know it's not official. But drinking beers and flying out of the suite of the building game.
He's been doing that. I've
never seen a video of him doing that ever.
The man he was wild at the Super Bowl parade.
Well, okay, I do know that. All right, on to the Pittsburgh Steelers. It's kind of a
Najee.
who's going to be on the team.
Najee.
I'm not buying Najee.
I'm buying.
You got to buy Najee.
Everybody hates Najee for
Jalen
whatever
Warren.
reason. This man is literally a great running back that a team on a shitty fucking team. Like, why wouldn't you buy Najee? If this team gets better, which they should, or if they get rid of him and he goes to a better team, which he should, it's Najee. Everybody hates Najee in fantasy football, and he's running back 20 on the year. Like, shouldn't be, but he is.
Yeah, he closed out the season
I
really
think it's
strong.
Jalen
The Steelers are in cap hell, man. The Steelers are in cap hell, so they could easily cut Najee. He could end up in a great position.
I still just don't think he's a great running back. I mean, I hear you all, but I just don't see it.
1,000 yards every season, 4 yards per carry. There's literally like if he got a full workload, which he never has because the team's been shit and can't even sustain a full workload for a running back. If he got a full workload on a good running like offensive, dude, Najee needs to go to the Eagles. Oh man, we wouldn't use him. What am I talking about?
Yeah, I mean, Jalen Warren is so efficient, and he took away from Najee in the
Dude,
passing
you're gonna see Jalen. Yeah, exactly. That's what he did. He poached Najee's passing game. The thing is, what's gonna happen is they're gonna lose Najee one of these years, and Jalen Warren's gonna be the starting running back, and he's gonna look like shit.
Maybe we'll never know until
You heard it here first.
Yeah, for real. Heard it here first.
Okay.
All right. I don't know.
Spit it out.
Next team, San Francisco 49ers.
Billy doesn't want to buy anyone on the Steelers.
I said Jalen Warren. I said it the whole time.
Of course you did. All right. Anyway, Christian McCaffrey is the one person you want to buy.
You're not buying Christian McCaffrey.
Good Christian McCaffrey. Luck. I know. I had to do
Unless
it,
you're
though.
giving your firstborn away. I don't know how you're going to get Christian McCaffrey on your team.
So I don't even have him yet. It'd be fucked up. So I'm going to go with Ayuk. I think the way Debo broke out again this year at the end of the year and was looking really fucking good, and I assume he's still playing and going to be fine. Ayuk kind of, I don't want to say backslid because he just didn't get the targets that he usually does. I think Ayuk's still a guy. I really think that there's still I don't want to say hatred, but like bias to Ayuk is like, yeah, kind of okay wide receiver. But like if you actually look at the games and look at the numbers, it's pretty phenomenal. So I think he's viable.
Yeah, Ayuk's probably right. I don't know. You could float
this team's
something
just
out for
expensive.
Kittle.
Yeah, I was gonna say this team is just expensive all around. I think even Kittle would be expensive in Dynasty, even though people should be trying to sell him at this point. With
Yeah, I don't think you could buy anyone on this team.
No, Ayuk would be my answer too, but it would be a pretty pricey.
Purdy, maybe. I feel like no one ever realizes how good Purdy actually is.
Like,
no, after this year they will.
Well, I have Purdy and I have Hurts on the same team, and I mean, I feel like Purdy, I can't not have him. What?
I said that's a biased situation. You have two of the best quarterbacks in the league.
I'm comparing having the two quarterbacks. Like, I'm not convinced that Purdy's not the better option than Hurts at this point. So I can't just get rid of him because
Purdy just gets a lot of hate from a lot of people.
Every single person has been giving him hate. And dude, you guys were giving him hate in the offseason. And I was literally like, why can't he be good? He had 6 straight games of phenomenal play and then he got injured. Like, as long as the shoulder heals correctly, which it did, obviously, he's a great quarterback. I think he's getting so much disrespect in this playoffs right now, which is just wild. His team's propping him up. Propping him up.
You drop Purdy on any other team, it doesn't work. If he has Kyle Shanahan, it works. Just the way of the road. Kyle Shanahan got Jimmy Trash Garoppolo to the Super Bowl. It's a good system he's running. It's hard to trust him because he's not going to be good anywhere else.
All right.
Seattle Seahawks is the next team. Think Kenneth Walker might actually be available. I didn't love how they were using him this entire season, and I think whoever has him might be at least thinking about what if. I think you might be able to talk him into getting him a lot cheaper than you could have last offseason.
Yeah, and now that we've seen Charbonnet, I completely agree because you can't buy Metcalf and JSN. There's no way. And you don't want to buy Lockett because who knows?
I think you could buy Metcalf.
I think what you do is you offer a trade out there for like the same trade for Metcalf and JSN and see if they're like, no fucking way. Or like if one of the people's like, that actually seems okay, but I kind of want this. Like if you get that kind of vibe from the Metcalf owner instead of the JSN owner, yeah, absolutely. But I really do think it's Kenneth Walker all around because I think we saw enough of Charbonnet to know that I'm not worried about that anymore. Or not as worried as I should be.
Yeah. I mean, Charbonnet looked good. I love Kenneth Walker. I just think my answer is DK. I think he's been on the cusp of being a real wide receiver one in fantasy, but he's never quite gotten there. And I think you can make the case that he's not as valuable as people think he is, and you could get him.
It's the touchdowns. That's what everyone looks at. The yardage and catches aren't really there. I mean, it's good, and he makes great plays, but it just doesn't translate to the fantasy points. So I agree. I think Metcalf should be reachable. I just don't think they will.
Don't think you can get him, even though you should be able to. All right, 3 more teams. We got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. My answer is Baker Mayfield.
Baker.
Even if you don't have him, he even if the person doesn't believe, I think you're gonna be able to get him cheap. That's all. And I think he's a consistent enough quarterback. Don't know who else is going to be on this team, but I think you can be able to.
I was going to say, that's actually what kills me is that, like, who the fuck's he going to throw to next year? Trey Palmer, apparently.
Otten and Trey Palmer.
Yeah, I was going to say. But, no, they'll obviously have to do something reworking for wide receivers, whether it's signing one of the guys or if it's, going and getting someone else. But, no, yeah, it's Baker Mayfield. I mean, he proved that he should be talked about again. I'm glad he did, too. Sean McVay said to him, too, 100%.
Yeah. I would try to acquire Rachaad White. No one wanted him at the beginning of the year, and I still think there's this general doubt that he is an actual RB1 in this league. So I think he'd be available.
Joe, the problem. The problem with Rachaad White is for every good passing play he has or running play he does, he misses in pass pro or something, and it's like they're not going to trust him forever unless he cleans that up. Like they're just not. Even in the playoff game, he missed a complete block and just Baker got nailed. And it's just maybe that's Baker's fault. I don't know. It feels like it's Rachaad White's fault though. And I just don't know how much they trust him long term. And that is kind of
they're drafting or signing a running back to compete with him, unfortunately, or be the running back too, but it's going to cut into his workload. That's my thing is you don't buy a running back 4 on the year and PPR and they're just going to add someone. I don't know who it's going to be, but there's no way they don't add someone.
But he's still good. I mean, I don't think you're wrong. I would just wait until in free agency they sign somebody, and then I would go buy him because he's going to be much cheaper. And he's not totally going to get phased out. He's just, maybe on third down passing plays, he's maybe not in there. I don't know. That's the problem. All right, on to Tennessee. I think it's Tajay Spears.
It's Tajay. We can go and move on.
Don't think there's many other players we need to talk about here. Joe?
Braylon Burks.
Of course. Moving on. Washington Commanders is the last team on the list. Josh, do you have a commander that you are after at this point?
I'm actually after 2. I could not narrow this one down. It is Jahan Dotson because they hate Terry McLaurin and whether he'll be there or not, I don't know. But Jahan Dotson and Chris Rodriguez. I know one person who will not be there, and it's Antonio Gibson. They fucking hate his guts.
That is true. It's Jahan Dotson. Fuck Sam out.
We did this last year, the same exact thing, and my answer was Jahan Dotson then too. And how long do we have to wait until Jahan Dotson is used appropriately? I hate that he's not in the overall conversation, and here we are.
Yeah, Gibson's a free agent, and that's going to be super fun next year for whoever gets him because he actually probably is going to be really good. And they're going to be like, oh, wow, it's weird. We didn't know he was good. It's like, yeah, we did.
For sure. Okay, that is the list of players that you need to acquire from every NFL team. I do think there's a lot of good buys in there. There's a couple teams where the prices are just way too high, but there is some good options out there, I think, that we brought up that people could go get and acquire in this Dynasty offseason. It's a long offseason. You're going to have to wait on certain players. There's certain times that are better than others after free agency, after the draft. These are the times you need to be trying to touch in, see what these people are thinking. If you
I
have a good
disagree with you. If you want to trade for someone later, you should not touch it because you don't want anyone to know you're interested in them. It's just my trade philosophy. If I'm interested in someone, I'm waiting. And especially if I'm saying like, oh, they might draft a running back or, Rashad White situation like we just talked about, I am not touching it on Rashad White. I'm going to wait until they go sign or draft a running back. Maybe a week later, I'll be like, hey, man, here's a trade offer. Let me know what you think.
That's what I'm saying. Wait until after free agency, then check in. Wait until after the draft, then check in and see where these guys' heads are at, guys or girls. Who do we think is going to win the Super Bowl, guys? We have the 2 championships this weekend, AFC and NFC. Who do we think is going to the ship?
Kansas City Chiefs are going to win the Super Bowl because it's bought and paid for by this here NFL.
All right. Conspiracy theory. Josh says the Kansas Conspiracy City Chiefs are going to win. Joe.
New Tom Brady.
Ravens. They are unbeatable.
I think it's Lamar. I think this is the first time in a long time that I don't think there is a dominant team in the NFL. There's no team that I think can't be beat on any day. I look at all 4 of these teams that are still, and I don't believe in any of them to go out and just win. So, yeah, I think it's going to be Baltimore because I just think they happen to be the best team left in a down year in the NFL total. That's just
nope. We are in the new Chiefs dynasty, which is essentially the Patriots dynasty, and it's making me wonder how good Tom Brady actually was.
Oh, my God.
All you have to do is date a really popular woman like Giselle or Taylor Swift, and then you win. Is that what they're telling us?
What is Pat Mahomes? Is it just Travis Kelce? So once he's off the team,
we got Taylor Swift. But no, I mean, it's just the Chiefs just seem to be the new dynasty, and they are in every commercial. They're making the NFL money, and they're going to continue to make the NFL money.
The Packers guy.
I just think after what the Ravens
to Simone Biles, he didn't get anything.
I don't care about Simone Biles. I do. I like Simone
After
Biles.
what the Ravens did with the Texans and that second half of that game, I just think the momentum's there.
I think it should be the Ravens or 49ers for sure. One of those teams deserve it, but I just think that bought and paid for. Not getting over it.
Okay. I guess
I want the Lions.
I would love to see the Lions do it, but
Josh, basically what we need is for the Eagles to have somebody on their team go date a superstar in this offseason. Is that what you're...
The thing is, the Eagles will never be the superstar team because people hate the Eagles, and the NFL knows that. The Chiefs are lovable right now because of
the fans of the team. It's not the actual team. It's the fans of the team that people hate.
Yeah, the only reason the Eagles got to win their Super Bowl was because Nick Foles, and it was unlikely. It was a Rudy. You know what I mean? They got a Rudy.
Yep. It was BDN.
I'm not over it, and I'll continue to say this until the day I die.
Fair enough. With that being said, Joe, get us out of here.
Good night.
Thank you for watching this IDP Guys video. If you like this content and you want more fantasy football content, click here. If you enjoyed this video and you want to see more videos to help you master your IDP league, click here to subscribe.